Most Gachiakuta fans look at Ryo's scissors and think they're just one of the coolest weapons in the series. And yeah, on the surface, that's exactly what they are. The moment she activates the Ripper and starts fighting with giant scissors attached to her feet, it's one of the most unique combat styles in the entire story. She's ridiculously fast, cuts through trash beasts like they're paper, and even Rudo struggles to keep up with her speed when he first sees her fight. But the reason Ryo's scissors matter isn't because they're scissors. It's because of what scissors actually do. Scissors separate things. They cut things apart. They sever connections. Once you start looking at Riyo through that lens, a lot of her character suddenly makes way more sense. Her entire life has basically been defined by cutting things off from herself. Before becoming a cleaner, Riyo worked as a hitman. That's one of the darkest pieces of her backstory. She wasn't just fighting monsters for a living. She was literally trained to kill people. Then at some point, she decided she wanted to leave that life behind and joined Engin's group instead. She even made a promise that she would never stain her scissors with blood again. That's a huge detail that a lot of fans gloss over. Her weapon isn't just a weapon anymore. It's a reminder of the life she wants to leave behind. What's interesting is that Riyo constantly acts cheerful, goofy, and playful around the rest of the cast. She comes across as one of the most energetic members of the cleaners. But whenever somebody starts poking around her past, she gets defensive almost immediately. It's like she deliberately keeps people at a certain distance. That's where the scissors symbolism starts becoming really hard to ignore. She doesn't just cut enemies apart. Emotionally, she spent years cutting off pieces of herself that she doesn't want anyone else to see. You can even see it reflected in how she fights. Most givers use their vital instruments with their hands. Riyo is different. The Ripper is attached to her feet. That means her fighting style revolves around movement, speed, and constantly creating space between herself and whatever she's facing. It's honestly a pretty clever reflection of her personality. When things get uncomfortable, Riyo's instinct isn't to get closer, it's to create distance. The battle against Noerde is one of the better examples of this. On the surface, it's just another intense fight, but it also puts Riyo face to face with someone who forces her into situations where she can't simply rely on speed and detachment. Instead, she's forced to confront things directly. That's when you start seeing cracks in the image she projects to everyone else. Underneath the jokes and confidence is somebody carrying a lot more baggage than she lets on. That's why I think most Gachiakuta fans still don't fully understand Riyo's scissors. The Ripper isn't cool because it's a giant pair of scissors. It's cool because it perfectly represents who Riyo is. A former assassin trying to cut herself away from her past. A girl who keeps people at arm's length. A fighter whose entire identity revolves around separation, distance, and leaving old wounds behind. The more Gachiakuta reveals about Riyo, the more her weapon stops looking random and starts looking like one of the most fitting vital instruments in the entire series. One thing that really stands out about Riyo is how different she is from Rudo. At first glance, they seem like complete opposites. Rudo wears his emotions on his sleeve. When he's angry, everybody knows it. When he's hurt, everybody knows it. When he wants revenge, he practically shouts it to the world. Riyo is the opposite. She hides everything behind a smile. That's why their interactions are so interesting. Rudo's entire journey is about holding on to things, while Riyo's feels like it's about letting things go. And honestly, that's another reason the scissors fit her so perfectly. Rudo's power comes from finding value in discarded objects. He literally creates connections with things other people throw away. Riyo's weapon does the exact opposite. It cuts things apart. It destroys connections. Their abilities almost feel like they're meant to contrast each other. When Riyo first starts spending more time around Rudo, you can see moments where she seems genuinely interested in him. Not because he's powerful, but because he's different. Most people in Gachiakuta have already accepted how the world works. Rudo hasn't. He's still stubborn enough to challenge everything. That kind of mindset probably reminds Riyo of someone she used to be before life beat a lot of that optimism out of her. Another thing fans tend to overlook is how much trust Riyo actually places in people despite acting distant. She works alongside the cleaners every day. She trusts Engine with her life. She trusts Zanka in combat situations. She gradually begins trusting Rudo as well. For somebody who spent years as an assassin, that's a huge character development that often gets overshadowed by the flashy fights. Speaking of Engine, his relationship with Riyo is another reason I think the scissors symbolism matters. Engine is constantly bringing broken people together. That's basically what the cleaners are. They're a collection of people carrying scars, regrets, and personal baggage. Riyo entered that environment after spending years separating herself from everyone. Engine gave her a place where she didn't have to keep cutting people out of her life. That's why some of the quieter moments with Riyo are actually more important than her action scenes. Sure, watching her fly through the battlefield with giant scissors is awesome. But the moments where she's laughing with the team or casually talking with the others reveal far more about who she really is. Every one of those scenes shows her slowly allowing herself to reconnect with people. There's also something really interesting about the fact that scissors require two blades working together. One blade by itself can't actually function as scissors. It needs another blade moving alongside it. That might sound like a stretch, but for a series that puts so much emphasis on symbolism and personal growth, it's hard not to notice. Ryo's weapon isn't just about separation, it's also about cooperation. The irony is that Riyo spent years trying to handle everything alone. That's how assassins survive. You don't get attached, you don't rely on people, you don't trust people. But as a cleaner, she's forced to do the exact opposite. She has to work as part of a team. She has to depend on others. She has to accept that some battles can't be won by herself. That's probably why her growth feels so natural compared to some other characters in manga. She doesn't suddenly become a completely different person. She's still sarcastic. She's still reckless sometimes. She's still playful. The difference is that she gradually starts lowering the walls she's built around herself. A lot of fans focus on Rudo's development because he's the main character, but Riyo arguably has one of the most relatable arcs in the series. Most people aren't trying to overthrow a corrupt system or survive in a giant wasteland, but a lot of people know what it's like to hide parts of themselves because they're afraid of being judged for their past. That's where her assassin history becomes so important. The story could have easily made that a cool background detail and left it there. Instead, it becomes something that continues to shape how she views herself. Even after joining the cleaners, she's still carrying the weight of the things she did before. The scissors become a constant reminder of both who she was and who she's trying to become. And the more Gachiakuta expands on its world, the more Riyo starts feeling like one of the series' most layered characters. Underneath all the speed, jokes, and flashy attacks is somebody who's constantly trying to figure out whether people can truly move beyond their past. That's a question the entire story keeps asking through multiple characters, but Riyo embodies it especially well. So when fans say Ryo's weapon is cool because it's a giant pair of scissors, they're technically right. But that's only the surface level answer. The deeper answer is that her scissors represent almost every major theme connected to her character: separation, guilt, trust, healing, and eventually reconnecting with people. The more you think about it, the harder it becomes to imagine Riyo carrying any other vital instrument.